Present.
Commissioner Canovic,
Here.
Commissioner Setzer.
Present.
Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I don't believe we have any public comments tonight, unless there's something that just came up. So if we could go right to the staff reports, Meredith?
Great, thank you. So this evening we'll start with the budget update for the current fiscal year. I did attach to a handout that's on your desk that looks like the Pop-Up Art Project, an additional budget update for you, and I just went ahead and added that project on. We'll get to that in more detail in a moment, but I just wanted to point out that there's an updated budget tracking sheet on at each of your seats, and we'll go through that in a moment, unless anyone has any questions about anything else on that sheet. Okay. Next, just a couple of dates to make you aware of. Tomorrow is the last day to register to vote, so a very important day. Another very important day is April 5th, which is Election Day, and we'll talk more about the bond issue in a moment. The next Arts Commission meeting is April 12th, and then on April 19th, the Public Art Committee will meet again. Yes?
Where would someone go to register to vote? Where would that be?
I am not sure. I know we have information on our Facebook page about it, but I'm not sure. Mike, do you know where they can take the forms?
We have, yes, you can download the form from our website or from the Cass County Election Commissioners or the Election Office's website. And from there, you can mail those in. There's also a couple of other places. I believe Cass County Library is another location you can go to fill out the form. But typically, it's easier to kind of fill it out online and mail it in.
Questions? Okay. The next item is in December, Commissioner Gambrell requested that we put a workshop on for the springtime. Like we talked about at that meeting, and especially coming off of the joint meeting with the City Council, this would probably be a great time to get back around a table as a group and be able to have some free-form conversation and not have to sit up at the dais. So I wanted to throw out a couple of dates to take a look at, and I will email these dates out to everyone, but I want you to have some time to check them out now. Tuesday, March 29th, Tuesday, May 3rd, Tuesday, May 17th, or Tuesday, June 21st. Of course, as you all know, we are very booked in this building. So we're fighting a whole bunch of other boards and commissions and meetings, et cetera. So those are the dates that are open right now in the executive conference room. But like I said, I'll send out an email tomorrow with those. And we can get a date set to reconvene and talk about the joint meetings and where we'd like to head next. This is also a really good time because the city's starting our budget preparations for next fiscal year, and so it'd be a great time to get a plan together for next fiscal year and decide if we need to request any additional funding from the City Council.
Meredith, I know I will be out of town on March 29.
Okay.
I'd really like to attend, but if,
Yeah.
you know, everybody else, that's the only date, then that's fine. But if we can work around March 29th, that would be, I would really like it, just because
Okay.
I'm going to be out of town.
Okay, that's very easy. All right, next I will turn it over to Mike to give you an update about Summer Scene.
Some exciting news coming out of Summer Scene. We met on Monday. Our committee has expanded. We've welcomed Lauren Jones III. He came out to some of the community conversations and met with Chair Paris a couple of times and has an extensive amount of knowledge with performance arts, music arts, and I think is going to be a great addition to the committee. We've begun phone calls and kind of a call for artists on both the vendor side as well as for the juried art exhibit. Interest is going to start slowly rolling in. Artists have until April 15th if they wish to be in the juried exhibit, and if they wish to be vendors, they have until about mid-May to let us know. Already have some interest from some food vendors and other kind of craft vendors that are interested in participating. Laura Abe, one of our members, has also already gotten a commitment from the area schools, preschools, and daycares. And they're going to be providing a craft for younger kids and kind of some art education at the event, and it's kind of a number of them, in fact. Her office, also the Center for Creative Center for Creative Arts and Healing. She has a business right there across the street from the park. Will also be hosting as a vendor a booth and an art craft as well that day. And so we've got some commitments already coming in. We're excited and moving forward. A couple of the forms that you have in front of you, just kind of wanted to walk you through those. You have an artist exhibitor registration form. This is for an artist who wishes to set up. A lot of the feedback we heard from some of the artists was that they wanted to be able to sell their art at this event. We will need them just to kind of fill out this form. The second one is kind of our juried art exhibit. If they're an artist that wishes to be just either part of the juried exhibit or to be a vendor and part of the juried exhibit, we need them to fill out this form as well. I can send all of these as a PDF to Chair Paris, and she can send it to the rest of the commission. The last sheet, along with our recap, is also just kind of a speculative map of where I kind of envision the different vendors and artists and kind of activities being placed there at TB Hanna Station Park. Very preliminary, just kind of based on some of the feedback I've received. I think this would provide a nice flow, but also allow us to use the entire park where we'll have access, and also kind of sets it up to where the stage and our food vendors, who most likely will need electricity, it'll give them access directly to the electricity there on the back side of that park. And that's really kind of the update from there. Any questions?
Will the stage be covered?
As of right now, I believe it'll just be a platform. One of the things that we're looking, or one of the items I'm looking into, is some of our musical acts, or some of the folks I've reached out to have expressed that they were going to need not only electricity, but possibly a sound system. Right. And so what we're kind of, or what I've been looking into is there are some stages that come, it's kind of like a flatbed trailer that you can pull into the space, already has the sound system and everything. They just kind of open up one of the sides, and they come in varying sizes. And so we're kind of looking into, price-wise, what would be the best fit for that. And at the same time, we didn't want to book or, commit maybe a smaller acoustic act and suddenly have this huge trailer-sized stage. And so that'll be driven a lot by who we have committed.
Okay. Also, will the juried art be for sale?
It will, yes. And that was why, and I don't think it's explicitly stated on there, for those artists in the juried exhibit, if they wish to be a vendor, they'll have pieces that will be selected by the committee that will be in the juried exhibit, but they can also have their 10 by 10 space for the rest of their collection that they wish to showcase. If they are a vendor and part of the juried exhibit, we're waiving that $15 fee in the juried portion.
Any other questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, next I'm going to take you through a quick presentation on the bond issue, so you're all up to speed on that. I'm going to broadcast my screen to all of you so that you can see what I'm looking at here. Should probably get to the beginning of my presentation. Some of you may have seen part of this if you participated in the community conversations, but what I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and do is go over the projects with you, use this opportunity to answer any questions that you might have. A lot of these projects will do great things for the arts community in Raymore, and so I want to make sure you all especially understand the details of what we're doing, and hopefully you all can go out and have the opportunity to share this information with your neighbors or people you interact with on a regular basis. So just to get started, of course, one of the great things that has happened to Raymore in the last couple of years is that we've grown significantly in our population. And I think, especially as someone who's new here, I didn't realize how much we've grown in such a short period of time. I mean, you can see we've almost doubled our population in the last 10 years, which is awesome, but it also starts to create some growing pains in the community, and we have to look at how can we begin to offer additional amenities for the 10,000 new people who have chosen to live in Raymore. So we have done a pretty extensive planning process. Of course, we do the ETC Citizen Survey every 2 years where it's a statistically significant survey that we send out to the residents to get feedback on our services and what amenities people would like to see. And then we have a series of plans that we've done in a variety of departments to do with parks and recreation amenities, traffic planning, et cetera. And then, of course, the strategic plan that we're working on right now. All of this has been leading up to, and we did include pictures of your arts conversations, which were, of course, an important part of that planning process, too, and did give us some great ideas for some of these projects and reinforce the need for some of the venues as well. But kind of the outcome of all of this planning and work has been this list of projects that the City Council adopted to move forward as part of our no tax increase bond issue on April 5th. So I just want to hit these projects with you. Feel free to ask questions as I go along. We'll have a slide for each project. So jump in if you have any questions. And then, of course, we'll have a time for questions at the end as well. And then I also put brochures at your places that has the complete list if you need to refer back to. So the first one is Recreation Park. In Recreation, so some of you may recall that we had a lot of conversations 2014-ish about putting a community center in Raymore. And essentially what we've done is we are getting the features of a community center, they just won't be in one building. So in Recreation Park will be the activity center component of a community center. This will have what's called a MAC gym, so a multi-purpose gym. It's the size of a high school basketball court. It's a flooring that can be used for any sort of sports events. You can also have larger events or conferences, things like that on top of it. So it's a full-size basketball court. It can also go the other way and be 2 volleyball courts, which will be great. We've planned a walking track to go around that. There will be some classroom space in the building, and then some office and administrative space as well. This building will replace the Park House, which is in Recreation Park now. If you've been in it recently, it's obvious it's time for us to move our programming out of that building. We do all of our day camps in that building, and so those camps will move over to the activity center when they're in session as well. And the gym, of course, will provide another venue for some of our league play to practice and host some of their games in. So with the activity center comes more parking in Rec Park, which is much needed, but we'll also be doing a rehabilitation of the existing parking lot, which has a number of potholes. If you've driven on it recently, it is in need. And then to reconstruct the big trail that goes around Rec Park as well. Any questions about project number 1 in Recreation Park?
Meredith, will that recreation center or the community center have the ability to have a stage and sound system so that there could be small concerts or performances there?
It could happen there. This will probably be more of an athletic-focused facility. There is an opportunity, and you can see, to do different sort of events there, but I'm going to talk about our meeting center in a second, which I think might be a better venue for what you're talking about. So we'll talk about that in a moment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
And how many people do you think you can seat? I mean, I would think the acoustics, most gymnasiums have terrible acoustics.
It's a big gym, yeah.
But there might be meetings and other kinds of gatherings and even art exhibitions.
shows, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna
so
say-
the size of a high school basketball, does that include bleachers space too? So it's
No,
No.
it does not.
okay.
Yeah, no. So just the floor, the court space for that. So I'd say probably 150, 200 people at tables-ish would be my thought. Okay. Felt like, nope. Okay. The next is Hawk Ridge Park, and this is mainly a passive park right now. There hasn't been a lot of development that's taken place there so far. As part of the city's current budget, we are putting in an ADA fishing dock. We're doing some trail work in that park, but as part of the bond issue, we would be adding a amphitheater, and this is a rendering from the original Hawk Ridge Park Master Plan, so don't get tied to this image, but it will be similar. So there will be an amphitheater that backs up to the lake, which would be a key venue for some of the performances that we've been talking about. Of course, we'll be adding parking in the park, which will be important. And there will be a fully ADA playground, which will be great. We don't have one of those in this area of the metro. And then because it's set so far off of 58, we'll be doing some entrance signage and signs throughout the park as well. Any questions about Hawk Ridge?
Is the seating for the amphitheater just ground seating? There's going to be no concrete seats or, okay, so people would bring their lawn chairs and, okay.
Yeah, the way that the terrain is in that park is it sets itself up. There's a hill that comes
Okay.
down towards the lake, so it does look similar to this image that you're seeing.
Meredith, is this the
Yeah.
facility or the lake that's behind Price Chopper?
Mhm.
Okay.
So next at TB Hannah Station, of course, we've done a lot of projects there over the past year. We opened up the new depot building. Just in the coming, at the next council meeting, actually, we'll purchase some additional property from the church that's on that square, so that actual park will be expanding. As part of the bond issue, we will be putting in a spray park or a splash park, so for the kids and adults too, I guess. There will be a synthetic ice rink, which is really cool. So that's an ice rink that you can use all times of year if you would like to leave it set up that way, but especially in the wintertime. And then we'll be adding a playground to the park as well. So hoping to really kind of complete that area and make it a really amenity-rich park in our original town community. Questions about that one? Yeah.
Can you go into a little more detail about the synthetic ice rink?
Yeah, so it's similar to, so there are a couple others in the metro. There's one at 119th and Knoll, I believe, at, what is that development called? Town Center?
Town Center.
Mhm. There's one up in Gladstone at Linden Square. There's a couple other ones in the Northland, actually, and it's just, it's a material that you can lay down and you can put a frozen component over it, or you can just use it without the frozen component. You get about 85% of the speed that you normally would with your ice skates, but you can play hockey on it, and it's easy to just put on some skates and jump onto it. The maintenance required is fairly minimal from our side, so it makes it an easy amenity for us to add in the park.
Meredith, where would they put that? And won't that use up a lot of ground space? I mean, I'm guessing it would be fairly extensive in size.
Yeah, so we're still working on exactly where these features get placed in the park. There is room for them in that area, but it's one of the reasons that we are purchasing the additional ground. Yes.
What about restrooms in both these places?
So Hawk Ridge does have restrooms already going into it, which is great.
They aren't
As
there-
part of
they're
our,
not there now, though.
they're not there
Right.
now. No, it's part of our current budget. And then restrooms are on the plans for TB Hannah Station. They're not included in any of these projects, but it will likely come in a subsequent budget year where the city is paying for it, not out of the bond issue. So it is a big discussion. Parking and bathrooms. They always come up. Other questions?
So would the ice rink be something that they would charge for, or is this just a community type of activity?
So Parks and Recreation is still working through the fee structure for all of these things. It's always our intent to offer as much as we can for free, but we haven't made a final determination on that. Anything else? Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about a couple of the street projects. So the biggest street project that we'll be doing is 58 Highway, a complete mill and overlay of this. And I think in here, I missed slide number 2. I'll just talk about it quickly. Or maybe we don't have a slide for it yet, sorry. So 58 Highway mill and overlay, that is essentially the entire 58 Highway in Raymer out to J Highway. Every 10 years or so, we need to smooth it out and redo the surface layer of that. So that's a fairly extensive project that we're doing. We'll also be doing a couple of key extensions throughout town. The first one is the Kentucky Road Connection or Kentucky Road Extension. We haven't exactly decided what we're calling that project. But if you know the stoplight that's it comes out of Lowe's and it goes across into Firestone and where the car wash is, Kentucky Road will be realigned to pop out at that stoplight so that you're not trying to make kind of a free turn onto 58 Highway. We're not sure yet what's going to happen with that section of 58 that will, I guess, no longer be used. It may remain open, but we're looking at how do we control traffic on that somewhat. So we're working through that still, but if the bond issue passes, that connection will be made. The great thing about that is it's a key connector for economic development. There's all that green space that is right behind the car wash, and by pushing Kentucky Road through that, we're able to really market that as a prime location for development in the community. Some of you may have seen that Ryan's has closed, and so that's a pretty hot corner right now, and this Kentucky Road alignment would really work well with the redevelopment of that site as well.
So Meredith, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said the closure of 58. Did you mean the section of Kentucky Road that's
Kentucky
closing?
Road,
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
yes. Yeah, this section right here.
Right.
Yeah.
So the city owns all that green space that you see on that map right there?
The city owns this green, can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here. So it's actually part of a development project that's already in the works, but it's just open for, actually Block owns it, doesn't it? Yeah, Block owns it. It's part of the Galleria development. So they're just waiting. It's kind of the next phase in their development, but putting the road through it will definitely help. The other two are key residential connections. We have Johnston Drive extension from Darabee over to Dean, and then Fox Ridge extension from Old Paint also over to Dean. Dean is the road that runs along Dean is Walmart, the Walmart road. So it pushes people over there, which could hopefully help alleviate some of the traffic on 58 by providing alternate routes to go east-west throughout the community. The other project that I want to talk about is the Municipal Circle Community building, which is right behind us. This is a project that the City Council has actually already approved and we're moving forward with. So this building will house the Parks and Recreation Department's administrative offices. There will be meeting space for 150 people, kind of a lobby atrium area that you could also use for some event space, and a classroom and catering kitchen to support those rooms, etc. So that's already been approved by the City Council. What happens as part of the bond issue is that we're able to expand that building. So it does things like increase the large meeting area from 150 people, hopefully up to somewhere between 250 and 300 people. So that's a pretty significant expansion. And then we're also able to do quite a bit of site work outside. So the city, when we purchased this property, you may not realize that we own all the green space behind all of these buildings. And so we're able to really utilize the outdoor area by creating some outdoor classroom space, putting it's not really an amphitheater, but kind of a gazebo area is planned for back there. So if you're having a wedding in this building, you could have an outdoor location for the ceremony and then potentially come inside for the reception, et cetera. So really, the bond issue would allow us to really do quite a bit of site work to it. Our inspiration with the architect has really been looking at the Nelson Atkins and how they use their lawn space and how can we create some opportunities for art to be placed throughout that, to do concerts, to create a gathering space for the community, really looking at good berming and trees to create, this is a great place to come walk to and spend your Saturday afternoon, maybe have some of our Adirondack chairs sitting out there, but just a nice gathering space for the community.
Meredith, may I ask, given the construction of that, where do they propose that people are going to park?
So there is a parking lot that will be constructed as part of the building. Also as part of municipal circle, we all have shared parking. So you can park in any of, it's part of the kind of covenants of this circle that you're allowed to park in any of the parking lots to go to any of the businesses on the circle. So there's actually quite a few parking spaces that already exist at City Hall, around the circle, in the existing lots, but we are adding additional parking as well. They'll tell you in staff meetings, I'm always the one that's like, and where are all these people gonna park?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's,
yeah.
you can draw the people, but if you
Right.
don't have a space to park, they're gonna keep on going.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Nothing's worse than coming to a wedding and being like 2 fields away when you
Yeah.
have to park. So it is a key priority that we take a look at. Other questions about those projects? Okay. So I just want to put in front of you the bond language. You'll see that these are 2 separate questions, so they could pass or fail independently of one another. We have Raymore Streets and Raymore Parks, and you'll, when you get the ballot for in April, you'll see that there are quite a few questions and propositions, and it's a fairly long list this time, so we wanted to make sure we named them very specifically so people could pick them out. And you'll see this language mirrored on the informational materials too. It's just over $10 million. And it is, like it says everywhere, a no tax increase bond issue. So by passing this bond issue, your city taxes will not go up. We're able to do all of this within our current bonding capacity. So essentially, we have bonds that we've issued, much like a home equity line of credit. We've paid down those, we've done some refinancing, and it's created some capacity for us. So we're able to issue $10 million in bonds without actually raising tax rates. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I put brochures at all of your tables. There are plenty more brochures if you have anyone that you would like to give those to. And also at the end of this week, you'll see, if you get online, and you may have noticed during the presentation, each of these projects has numbers associated with it. We'll be putting up project signs at each of the site locations so that people will know, okay, this is where Hawk Ridge Park is, this is where this road extension is, much like those Reimagine Raymore signs that were up for the different construction projects. So you'll be seeing a lot of information about this over the next month or so. Any questions? All right. Let me give you your screens back. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Okay. Next, I just wanted to do a quick recap of the Reimagine Raymore strategic planning sessions that we conducted in February. I think from our perspective, and I know a lot of you were able to attend them, the turnout was incredible and unexpected, and we were very, very satisfied with the number of residents and business owners who turned out to participate. The first night, we were essentially at capacity in the cafeteria, which was great and terrifying all at the same time. But we averaged 120-ish people participating in each of the conversations, which was wonderful. So the purpose of those conversations was to establish some common themes and threads to come back to the City Council with as they kick off their strategic planning process. So the next step will be to take the information that was gathered by KU during those meetings and to create what we're calling strategic themes for the council, and then establishing goals under each of those themes. And KU will be at the City Council meeting on March 21st to make their initial presentation to the council to start working through language, et cetera, to start firming those up. One of the questions that we're getting fairly frequently, so I just want to give you all a heads up, is will there be a document coming out that summarizes the votes that were taken at these meetings, et cetera? And there won't be a standalone document that comes out. It will all be incorporated into the final strategic plan that the city does. But we have been using all that raw data that's come through to establish these strategic themes. So if you came and participated, and for those of you who didn't, we did a lot of voting and theming and all sorts of really cool uses of technology, but we're not gonna come out and say the number one thing that came out of the community conversation was dog park. or Chick-fil-A or Taco John's, we need a Taco John's. We have all that information and it will be used, but because we look at the ETC survey while putting together these strategic themes, we look at the plans that we've already done. It's all of that information gets pulled together, and then we create the plan from that. But March 21st is when we transition into this next phase of the project, and I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions that anyone had coming out of those meetings or questions about the next steps.
I'm hoping that maybe in our special session that we can delve a little bit more into some of what went on in those meetings, and perhaps after that, that'll be after probably, well, it will be after the KU makes their presentation on the 21st, so maybe we'll have some additional information to kind of look at.
Okay.
Because it's going to help us in our strategy going forward as well.
Absolutely. I would hope by the time we meet, just based on those dates that I took a look at, that we at least have a good draft version of the strategic themes and the goals that the council is taking a look at, even if they're still tweaking language a bit, so the Arts Commission can start looking at how your projects tie back up into those. Okay. Other questions?
That, and I didn't go to all of them, but it was really striking the similar themes and areas, ideas, et cetera, that process came up with, as did our process with Jill. So there's a pretty good set of clues
Yeah.
for the city council to follow, and
There
for
is.
us too.
Yes.
And I mean, popped up all kinds of questions as we were going through that, and then after, that were tied into what we'd already talked about. So
Right.
No, very, very true.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Awesome. Okay. Next, just reporting out from the Public Art Committee. They met last week and selected the exhibitor for the next City Council Chamber Art exhibit. And I've included Claire's packet at your desk. I don't know if any of the Public Art Committee members want to speak to that, but Claire has been contacted, and so that art exhibit will start on Monday, April 11th. And this is essentially our first one, since this one was the students, and so we're still working through how we'll recognize her at the City Council meeting. So if anyone, if you're Chair Paris, if you're available to attend that night, if not, maybe somebody else.
Is that April 11th?
Yeah, and then it'll run through June 30th, but I think it'll be great to, any support that we can have for Claire, we'll of course invite her to that meeting and recognize her in front of the City Council to kick things off, but very exciting.
May I ask, were there any other applicants during the process? I'd like to know, just as curiosity, how many more applicants there were.
Yeah, so there were 2 total applicants. And we're holding that second application to roll over into the next call for artists, but hopefully we'll continue to get the word out and get some more interest the next time around, but.
It does occur to me too that the juried art show for Summer Scene may recruit some more applicants for here. I mean, our reputation should be growing in terms of places that artists can show their work and all.
And I
So-
think the first person, once people see the artwork up in the chambers, the momentum would grow. The more the word gets out, and hopefully there'll be, internet pictures and coverage by the newspaper, and so I think it'll just continue to grow, so.
Absolutely. Okay. I think that's all of the reports we have this evening.
Before we go, okay. All right, well, thank you for the updates from the staff and the committee updates. The only,
Are we going to talk about the chairs at all?
yes,
That's down
on
under
our-
old business.
Oh, pardon
Old
me.
business. We only have one consent item tonight, and that is the commission meeting minutes from February 9th. Do I have someone to nominate or to My mind just
Motion?
went totally
Yeah.
blank.
Motion.
Good. Do we have a second to approve the minutes from February 9th?
Second?
All right, is there any discussion, corrections, or additions to those minutes? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. That's unanimous, so the minutes have been approved. Thank you. Now we're on to old business, and we can talk about the art project.
Awesome. Well, I put a handout at your desk. Like I said, the Public Art Committee met last week to really sit down and work through a number of these details. I want to, let's just start with the name and dive right in. So we've been throwing this around at the staff level, and I sent out an email to all of you with a ton of options, and I'd love to hear your feedback. We're kind of liking from our side, maybe calling this entire campaign a pop-up art project, and then each year establishing a theme that goes with that. And so this year it could be Relax and Raymore, to incorporate both of those into it, but certainly open to feedback or ideas that anyone had. We need to get the name finalized fairly quickly so that when our graphic designer starts next week, we can turn her loose and get the marketing materials named or created. So any thoughts?
I mean, I happen to like it, and I don't know if it's protocol, but it's reimagine with an R and now relax with an R. So, but I think I like it. I think it's clever for the project that you have in mind. Anybody else have any input? For those that are not on the committee?
Yeah, I agree. I like the pop-up art project as a heading and then sort of giving an opportunity to refresh the theme each time we come around. I think it's nice.
And it's concise and catchy, so I think it's great.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing lots of nods, so we will move forward with that name. Easy. Okay, so I'll just hit kind of the highlights, and Public Art Committee members, feel free to jump in if you have any additions. So the first key component is the chair decorating piece of this. So the committee decided that the participants will provide their own chairs, and they can provide either plastic or wood Adirondack chairs. Both can be decorated. That's 2 different price points, which is great. We have confirmed that at the very least Home Depot does have or is getting the wooden chairs. That it's about $50 to get one of the wooden chairs from there. Plastic chairs are under $20, which is great. So they provide their own chairs, and they can be decorated in any way the participant wants, but of course should be appropriate for viewing by residents of all ages. So we're trying to keep that as open and cost-effective as possible to encourage as many people as possible to participate. Any questions about the decorating component? Okay. Next, onto the display. So this, of course, will be during the summertime. So we're looking at roughly June 12th through August 12th. School's back in session the next week, so I thought it might be kind of a natural fit to wrap it up before the school year starts. To officially participate in the project, chairs must be registered with the city and their location identified so we can get them mapped appropriately. And we'll work through how we have people register their chairs probably online and have some printed out forms available as well. And then we're going to encourage participants to display their chairs at Summer Scene and do some sort of contest and give out prizes. The committee didn't work through if that's the only time they'll be giving out prizes or not, but definitely some incentive to bring your chair to Summer Scene and have those. But we got some great feedback after our meeting that maybe not everyone has the ability to bring their chairs to Summer Scene, so we certainly don't want to disqualify anybody from participating. And then just I've listed below a couple of different community engagement components of the project. There's going to be a big chair, a really big Adirondack chair that's being constructed and decorated and hopefully put on display in TB Hannah Station. I'm going to work with the park board to get approval to be able to do that. The idea is that the chair will be large enough for multiple people to sit on and a great photo opportunity, and hopefully stay up for the duration of the summertime to just kind of draw attention to that project. What's great about TB Hannah Station is that's where the farmers market is, so there's at least some good traffic there on a weekly basis. The next component is a how-to workshop, and we are working with Lowe's to do a workshop about how to decorate the chairs, tips on how you paint plastic, what different materials are available, that sort of stuff, and to bring in a community partner and business to help. And so we're looking at early April for that. Hopefully that will translate maybe into an additional sponsorship and them participating and painting a chair as well. The other thing we're working on is a painting party. It's kind of a bring your own chair thing to one of the parks, of course having to get park board approval for that. So it'll be a social opportunity. So you bring your chairs, you bring your supplies, but we would like to have some artists on hand to help work through concepts and give ideas. Maybe just a fun place to come and paint for a couple of hours or hang out, have some snacks. Pretty low key, but just an opportunity to build community as part of this project. And then finally, like we've talked about before, there'll be a number of social media campaigns going on, you know, a hashtag for the project, take your picture with the chair, go find a chair, all sorts of things just to keep people engaged and kind of, you know, tapping them on a regular basis to make sure they remember this project is happening and getting some conversations started around it. Any questions about the community engagement pieces of this?
When do you propose to, if we approve it now, does this need to go to the council for approval? Okay.
It does not.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we need to vote on this tonight?
So there, we've included a budget request for $2,000. That does include the marketing materials, the prizes, building a big chair.
Who's going to build the big chair?
So I'll let you speak to that. I'm not sure how far you've gotten along in that process,
Oh my
but
gosh, you're building the big chair?
yeah.
No, I am not building the big chair, but my neighbor is a pretty awesome woodworker, and he's already making plans to try and help us out. So we have worked with him, so we're trying to get a quote right now, and then obviously if there's anybody else who's interested in building a big chair, they can certainly submit a quote as well. But the idea is that we have a big presence and trying to find somebody local who could do the work for us.
Oh, that's great.
I have a question, sorry,
Yeah.
Meredith. Can you talk a little bit about what the prizes would be?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Yeah, probably just, nominal prizes like gift cards or, something like that. Just something to encourage participation. Maybe a trophy? I don't know. Yeah. Some
And-
sort of recognition.
Is the plan to market to, obviously residents, but also businesses and even perhaps this would be a good opportunity for schools to, okay.
Yeah.
Just making
Yeah,
sure.
we're going wide. We're going big with this.
Sounds good.
Yeah. It is during the summer, and so it will start in March, and so that'll give the schools a little bit of time or any community groups who want to get together before school lets out to do some work.
One other question.
Yeah.
Can the Arts Commission as a group do a chair?
You can
Would
do
that
it-
be something that we would want to consider doing, and not be put in as an opportunity for prizes, but as a way to make a statement about us as a group?
Yeah, I think that would be great. You can all individually do chairs too.
Assuming that, of course, this is going to take off, and we'll have so many people putting chairs in, is there a way to, just in case there's a number of businesses having the business tier, the residence tier, the school tier, that way there's 3 different first place, second place, third
Yep.
place?
Yes, we can definitely work through prizes.
Because there's going to be a lot.
Meredith, if I could ask, when do you propose on taking the request to the Parks Department about get approval for the chair to go be placed in the park and using the park for various
So
activities?
hopefully that'll happen at their meeting this month. I'm not sure if it needs to actually go through the park board or not. Nathan Mustine, the director, is out of town this week. So when he gets back, him and I will talk about it. But I think so far, Parks Board has been really supportive of this work, and it's just the addition of a chair going into their park, so it doesn't take a lot of additional work on their behalf. So I don't anticipate it being an issue, but we're gonna have all this hopefully wrapped up and some decisions made. The chair, the big chair isn't so much of an issue, but we have to have most everything else figured out by March 26th because that's the Easter egg hunt and the date that we'll be at the Easter egg hunt with some chairs that are being decorated to set out at a booth. And if anybody's interested in volunteering that morning, I believe it starts at 9 a.m. Is that right, Mike? 9 a.m. And it's a pretty quick event, but it draws a huge crowd. And so we thought it'd be a great time to get some chairs out there and do some publicity for this event and then kind of use that to kick things off. And then you can see the timeline below. The workshops and the painting party in April, maybe early May. Summer scene is in June, and then we'll do all of the campaigns and social media interaction in June, July, and August. So tonight we just need a nod from the Arts Commission, a motion to approve moving forward, and to spend $2,000 on this project, and then we can get started. It does not need to go to the City Council, although I will report out to them on the details.
All right, do any of the commissioners have any more questions or discussion before we vote? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the $2,000 budget for the pop-up art project Relax in Raymore? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Seconded?
All those in favor of the approving a $2,000 budget for the pop-up art project Relax in Raymore? Raise your hand, please. Okay, it's a unanimous decision, and we're on with the chairs. Unfortunately, I won't be here on the 26th. Where are we getting the chairs for the March event? Oh, we've got a couple people? Well, great, thank you very much on that.
We've got a couple of places that people, there's a guy in Foxwood Springs who builds them as a hobby, and
Oh.
so I think he'd be pleased. They're just green and white, but they're very cool. I mean, they're very quality things, so if we can get him over there in one of his chairs, then we could have him there. And then Desiree and I are doing our thing too.
Great.
But if any other commission
Sure,
members would
go
like
ahead.
to do a chair and donate it and bring it to the event, that would be awesome. So we could have as many chairs as possible at the Easter egg hunt and, of course, at the summer scene.
And really, the kit from Home Depot, it's not real heavy. It took 30 minutes to put it together. It does take, oh gosh, it does take, you know, we're putting a base coat, and then it accepts any kind of paint and exterior paint. Of course, you want to have exterior paint, but you could do acrylic or whatever, and then put a sealer over that. And, I mean, compared to the plastic, to me, the wood is, and you can take it apart and put it in the back of your car, and it's really pretty easy. I was pretty impressed. And they've ordered in over there like 25. They can reorder as people come in and buy them just like that. But it is $50. But I'm willing to share some paint, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's very exciting. All right, is there any new business before the commission tonight? I don't see that we have any on our agenda. All right, are there any comments from any of the commissioners that anybody would like to make tonight? Oh, Ms. Stutzer.
I happened to run into Director Jen Gibson, who's with the Raypeck Bands, and I had been reading in the paper and following. I know that the middle school kids had gone to at least 3 events and done well, and she was extremely grateful and wanted to thank the commissioners for supporting them. They have a few more trips to take, and they've greatly expanded their horizons now. So they were very, very, very grateful to you for that.
Good. I just have one thing. Harriet and I went to the Leawood Mardi Gras held in their community center, which is actually part of their city hall. And it was about 80 different pieces of artwork. But we had the opportunity to do, kind of question and talk with the head of that Mardi Gras, who is actually on their parks board. And I forget her name. She's staff. Okay, she's on their Parks and Rec staff, but she really is the one that spearheads that activity plus other things in the community. She has kindly offered to come and just chat with us about some of the challenges and successes that they've gone through over the years, because they've been at this for a while longer than we have. And so we offered to buy her lunch if she came and spoke with us, and I think she would be a good person to have come meet with the commissioners, and maybe even at our special meeting, we could give her a few minutes to just talk about how Leawood works. So I just would offer that as a potential for our commission to think about in the future, so.
The other thing that I will just add is, even though your regular meetings always start at 7 o'clock, there is an opportunity if you want to do a workshop session before these. I know some of you have schedules that allow that and others don't, but like we can always do a special workshop from like 6 to 7 before one of these meetings. If somebody's coming in or something like that you'd like to do an open discussion like that. But anything more extensive, it's tough with a time constraint on the back end, so it's nice to have another day set for that.
Okay, if no further comments are available, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.